afternoon, everyone. My name is Leisha Jackson from FM Systems. I want to thank you all for attending today's webinar, Your Facility Space Plans Your Way, where we will be showcasing the new features in the FM Systems FMX5 viewer. Today on the line, we have Brian Haynes, our Director of Marketing, and Bill Meier, our Senior Applications Engineer. During the presentation, the lines will be muted, but if you should have any questions, please enter them in the panel on the right-hand side of your screen, and we will answer them at the end. That being said, Brian, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Leisha, and I'm really excited about this presentation. It's one of my absolute favorite parts of FM Interact as our new FMX5 viewer, which Bill is going to have an opportunity to really show off. Before we get started on that, I'm just going to go over a few things. So some of you on the call may not be that familiar with FM Systems, so I'm just going to do a very, very quick introduction, and we're going to spend the majority of our time with Bill actually in the software application itself. So who are we? We're an FM Interact. We provide FM Interact, an IWMS solution. We've been in the marketplace serving the facilities management and real estate market for 32 plus years now, providing FM solutions. We are very proud of the fact that our customers can clearly understand what it's going to take, how long it's going to take, and how much they're going to be spending on getting FM Interact up and running, which we can do quite quickly. We have fixed price implementations, which is quite unique for this marketplace. We also have an extremely high customer satisfaction rating. We take great pride in the relationships that we create, the continuing relationships with our customers, 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years. We have these very long, very deep relationships with our customers. We're very proud of that with these customers globally. Many of the world's best companies actually rest their facility success on solutions created by FM Systems. I'm certainly not going to go through all of these, but we really manage very large portfolios across a number of different vertical industry segments. Many of these really world-class companies you'll recognize and are the typical types of organizations that are using our products. So now right into FM Interact. What is FM Interact? It really is a web-based or cloud-based platform for enabling facility team members to view, update, and report on facilities, data, drawings, and models at your desk or in the field. Some of these little screenshots down here are actually FM Interact in action. We not only support viewing things like floor plans and building information models through web browsers, but we also support a variety of mobile devices like iOS and Android. The FMS product suite itself is actually quite broad. Bill is going to be focusing specifically today on viewing space plans in the FMX5 viewer, but understanding that we now have 11 modules as well as some additional mobile apps that all make up the FM Interact product suite. And without further ado, we're going to get right into the FMX5 viewer itself, which is really a beautiful tool for allowing you to be able to do a number of things. Bill's going to show this off. That allows you to be able to get your facility plans your way. Some of those are speed and flexibility. I actually had an opportunity to look at how fast really complex drawings load through the browser without the need for a plugin, and that's key. You can use it across all modern browsers. We actually have a document we can send to you that shows you what the technical requirements are. But rest assured, if you're using the most current version of Internet Explorer, Chrome, Firefox, etc., it's going to do a beautiful job of taking advantage of the FMX5 viewer, which is built with a technology called HTML5, which allows us to stream very high-quality drawings to the browser window quickly. I actually had an opportunity to see it go up against a desktop product that was loading the same drawing. And the web browser that we've got now, the web browser viewing was actually faster. I think that's the first time I've ever seen that. All right, also really brand new in this capability are drag and drop workflows. Bill's going to show off some of this. Drag and drop, being able to do things such as drag a person from one office to another cubicle to another, really helps with just keeping your drawings current, but also a brand new capability that allows you to be able to build out very large move management projects by dragging and dropping employees on and off of a pallet, which allows you to then move between not only buildings and floors as well. So it's really exciting to be able to see that as part of our FMX5 viewing technology. And the last thing, which is actually a number of things, is really graphic theming. This allows you to color code your floor plan literally any way you want. You can do it with our predefined graphic themes, which we've had in FM Interact for a long time, which you can build those to meet your specific individual organizational needs. But we also have a new ad hoc theme builder. That's supposed to say theme builder, not them builder, which allows you to enable end users to create their own themes on the fly and save them, so you can have your my favorites. And maybe you want to do something sort of off the cuff, like I just want to see rooms of a certain space type over 100 square feet across these 3 buildings. You can do that, and it's really, really easy to do. Any of your end users who you give access to this capability will be able to do that. So without further ado, what I'm just going to do is go ahead and hand over to Bill, and Bill is going to run us through a live demonstration of the FMX5 viewer. Bill, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Brian, and thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your days to join us and experience some of the new functions and features. Brian had mentioned that this is one of his favorite things that he has to do, to demo, to present. It's also one of mine. For those of you who don't know me, I've been in facilities. I've worked in facilities for over 20 years. So this is my bread and butter. This is the stuff that I love. I love to be able to present to others and be able to share and display. So we're going to go through a few things and a few features here, and I'm just going to remind you once again that on your webinar panel there's an area for questions. I'm sure with a lot that I'm going to show, there's going to be some questions. So please feel free as we go through the presentation to post those questions over there in your webinar panel. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. As Brian mentioned, we have a brand new viewer, and it's called the FMX5 viewer. That's what you're seeing on the screen right now. This is indicative of what our development has been trying to do for a very long time. They want to create a graphically driven workflow. What does that mean? That means that you can perform a majority of your facilities related functions right from the graphics. So if we want to move people, if we want to change information within the floor plan, etc., all of that can be done right now through this tool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight new features that came out with our 8.4.1 product, as well as brand new features that have most recently come out in the latest hot fixes. So those I'm going to flag out. So for those of you who maybe know of some of these features, just bear with me. We're going to get to all kinds of new and exciting stuff here in just a moment. Okay, with that, let's go ahead and get started. One caveat to this is it doesn't matter if you're using AutoCAD or Revit. Either platform, you're going to be able to use these features without having any issue with the graphic viewer needing to update based on Revit or AutoCAD. Both will work just fine in the fashion that I'm going to show you today. So the very first thing that I want to bring to your attention is that now you have the ability to navigate between different buildings and floors from your portfolio. For those of you who've used our product for a while now, in the past, you actually had to leave the graphic viewer in order to select for a different building and floor. And of course, that takes up time. It's additional clicks and steps. Now it's available right inside the viewer itself, where we can navigate out to any other location within our portfolio. The next thing that I want to share is the actions bar. So the actions bar inside of the viewer menu bar here allows quite a few different options here. One is to place the legend. What does that do, Bill? Oh, I'm glad you asked, because this is a great feature. In the past, the legend, as you see it here on the screen, is down here. It's in the bottom left. And if I were to view this at full screen so I could see this whole legend, it would make my floor plate smaller, which isn't good. I want to take advantage of the most real estate that I can. So Place Legend allows me to make a selection here and literally drag and drop my legend on this floor, for this floor. So I'm going to release it there, and now I have the option to set for all locations in my portfolio, or define the floors which I want to set this for. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click on place, and then now my legend is located there and will always be located there for either myself or any other user. That also brings up the question, can general users go in and can they, change the legend location and now it's going to mess me up? No, this is a privileged permission that you would assign to certain individuals to allow them to be able to go in and do that. Next up is units in our action bar. And you'll see here square feet, square meters. I hear all of you global companies cheering and clapping in the background because in the past this had to be, you had to go into all kinds of settings to change this. Now it's available right out of the viewer. I can change this from square feet to square meters by the click of a button. The Selectable Objects feature. What is that? Selectable Objects, is that assets? You betcha. Assets now, if they're associated in your drawing and they're linked to the Asset Management module, now they can be selectable as long as they're appropriately defined in the AutoCAD drawing itself. That means that no longer do you have to just select a room in order to see assets, but for those of you who have assets outside of rooms, they can now be selectable as objects from the viewer itself. And then I'm going to go over export as PDF in a few moments here, doing some other neat features, but I want to focus right now on the print feature. Print actually allows us to print to the current viewable area. So if I am zoomed in somewhere on this floor, it's going to print to the general location that I'm zoomed into. And if I want to print the entire floor plan, of course, I have the option to do that. So bringing back some of that DWF functionality of being able to print to window or print the entire floor plan is a great feature that's available out of the system now. Okay, so with that, that kind of covers our action bar. Some of the other new features that came out with 8.4 was the ability to do multi-select. Again, for those of you who've been around a while, you knew that in order to select for multiple spaces and make global changes, you had to either use a data view or you had to go into AutoCAD to do that. Well, no longer. You now have that feature and function right within the view here. So if I go into a particular area and I just start making a selection, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. I'm going to select one room there, and now I'm going to hold the control key down, and I'm going to do a window now around multiple rooms. Because I am in a space types graphic view, let's go ahead and change a space type so that we can see that on the fly. So new right-click capabilities within the viewer. I'm just going to quickly point out you have an edit option, room splits, of course your zones that have been there since about 8.2, and then now move management, add a move project, or create individual moves. So little highlight there to some other new enhancements to other modules is the ability to generate moves right from the graphics. Another huge, huge feature that I'm really proud of our development team for. Let's go back to edit, and let's go ahead and select that option, and it's going to bring up my multi-edit window. What can I do here? Well, you might see a number of different fields that I can go in and change information for. But I'm just going to change my information from maybe my workstations, and for whatever reason, I'm going to change all of these to offices. And I'm simply going to click Save Changes. So I've made a selection of multiple spaces within the floor plan. I've changed the space type now from a workstation to an office, and now that gets updated. So you'll notice no longer are they cross-hatched as green, they're cross-hatched as blue, and also the space type annotation has now been updated as well within this view. Okay, let's move on to a different building. And I'm now going to navigate to Building 1, first floor, so you can see firsthand kind of how this functions and works. That's going to bring up my floor plan. Also notice that the graphic view stuck. So even if you do navigate around to different buildings and floors, your graphic views are going to stick with regardless of the location that you choose. So now I'm going to go into a department's graphic view so that I can see all of my departments displayed here. And I'm going to point out that this large room kind of in the center of the building has 3 different cross-hatching. That's because we've done a room split for that. So room splits allow you to go in and be able to manage and modify what department owns what percentage of this space. And again, saving you time and clicks by making this available right from the right-click capabilities out of the viewer itself. Not only that, let's talk about these graphic views. And again, for those of you who've used the department's graphic views, one of the most common requests that we would get is, how do I maybe focus down on 1, 2, 3, 4 different departments on a particular floor instead of showing every department on that floor? And in other products and in our product in the past, that would be a difficult task to overcome. You might have to create a custom query for that. And now with today's FMX5 viewer, we have this graphic themes. So I selected my little graphic themes icon in here, and it gave me the view of not just this particular graphic view, but all my graphic views. So what can I do with this now? What does graphic themes enable me to do? And I've noticed that my screen sharing just paused, and I'm not sure why. Okay, I think it just came back, so let's go ahead and move on. So now with my queries, notice under departments, I have queries, annotations, and layers. And I'm going to expand my queries, and it's going to show me, notice that it mimics my legend here and the color coding that's on this floor. What I can do now is notice as I deselect here, notice that they disappear both from the crosshatch on the floor as well as the legend. So I can keep narrowing this down to specifically just the departments maybe that I wanted to see. So very convenient tool, again, saving lots and lots of time for the workflow when you need to do this, when you need to narrow down or maybe customize an existing graphic view. And now if I maybe zoom into one of my locations, we see my annotations here. I can even control my annotations and be able to decide, you know what, I don't want to see space type. I don't want to see that annotation, and now that disappears from the view. So this has been available in 8.4.1. What has not been available is the ability to save this. So if I want to save my settings, if I'm going to use this again, I can now save these graphic themes. So let's go ahead and close out of that. I'm going to say no to saving that. And now a feature that I want to show you is great, especially for those of you who either you personally had to go out and do space audits, or your planners would be going out doing space audits, because let's be realistic, we all have to deal with squatters. The people who suddenly move themselves on floor plans and they didn't ask you, they didn't go through the proper process. Now what do? Well, we have this assign rooms icon here, this little silhouette. What that allows us to do is it brings up this window, and notice it's telling me drag a person on the floor to another room in the floor, or drag them into this window. So if I zoom in to these different locations and I'm out walking space, and by the way, this feature is available through FM Mobile, so you can even be using your tablet and walking space with your tablet instead of printing out that D-size sheet of paper and freaking everyone out on the floor because they see someone from facilities walking and they know that means change. But here, I can just go in and now maybe for Wriggleman there, I just drag them and drop them because as I'm walking the space, I notice, well, they're sitting here now. So I've effectively just relocated Josephine from one location to another. And this is going to adhere to some of our move management rules. So if I move them or drop them into a space that's already occupied, I'm going to get a warning. I don't care, Deborah, because guess what? Rose here, Morgan, you're moving somewhere else. So I didn't know. Notice I dropped her into this window, and it says unassigned. I may not know where I need to put her. So I can now navigate to a completely different floor, building and floor, and I don't lose my assignment. This is a brand new feature to the latest hotfix, is we can jump between buildings and floors while making our space assignments. And now I realize, Morgan, you're going to go here. Again, it's crosshatched as vacant, but once I click Save, the previous rules apply with graphic views, and that is they're going to be updated live. And so notice it's no longer crosshatched as a vacant space on that floor. All right, so now let's go ahead and let's go into creating some more unique graphic themes. So I'm going to jump back into my building one, and we're going to do something special. That is, we're going to create an ad hoc query directly from this view. So I'm going to just navigate to my base floor plan. I'm going to go into my graphic themes, and now I have a number of different options. By the way, I can add as many graphic views to this view as I would like. So if I want to see separated and reserved, vacant and reserved, as well as separated personnel, I can add any number of graphic views that I want using graphic themes. So we have great control over what is seen, what is displayed there. But now, notice under multiple query, I have custom query. What is that? I'm glad you asked. This is the ability to create ad hoc or queries on the fly, again, without ever leaving the graphics. So let's use an example here. Let's say you have a responsibility to figure out how much space on a given floor has a certain floor finish. So I'm going to call this rooms with tile. I want to figure out how much of my space actually has tile flooring. Now, of course, ideally, we would have already gone out and identified those spaces, but maybe we didn't have a graphic view to capture that. So now I'm going in and I'm creating that. And I'm going to define my query here and identify that indeed I want to use the flooring option and be able to go in. And so I'm just going to scroll down here to my flooring and drag that into my window. So flooring equals tile, as simple as that. Let's go ahead and save that. And now that's going to be added as part of my query for this red color and the crosshatch settings that I define. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And then that's going to produce the crosshatch for me for the particular spaces that meet that particular criteria in the system. All right? Let's go ahead and let me take a quick look at this. A0 flooring equals tile. Now, not only that, but we can also control different functions within the system. So functions such as what, Bill? Well, our legend settings. So if I go in here and I do a modification for my legend, I may go in and title this vacant space that I have that I just selected for my query there. Vacant space, I want area, I want count. My text height, let's call it 50. I'm going to give it a total and a count here, and we're good with that. Now I can see that legend show up with those settings inside my floor plan. Also brand new to the latest hotfix is the scale bar. So if I turn that on, that's going to define a scale bar that's available to me that I can now see and reference, especially when I'm printing out this floor plan. Also, floor plan details. And I can move these. So this little icon says, hey, I can move my details. Maybe I want them a little to the left here. I'm going to place my details there, and now there they are. If I want to modify my details in terms of what they display, I have the availability to use my building tables, my floor tables, that I can now go into the individual fields inside those tables and add them to my details view here. And then they'll display. Then finally, what do I want to do with in terms of data? So I have a graphic view that displays here. What if I want to go in and show a data view as well? In the past, data views and graphic views were kept separate. But today, with the latest hotfix, I can actually define the module that I want to select the data view from. I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to choose my vacant space. And then I can define a sum if I want to, as well as a count. And we'll do a count for room number. Click OK to save that. And now that's going to be available. It's going to replace my info view below. And so let's go ahead and save this. And we're going to call this vacant spaces with data. And my option is a personal theme or a global theme. Personal means I'm the only one who's going to be able to see this. Global means if I'm a power user or administrator, I want others to be able to see this. So that's the option that I have there. We'll go ahead and save this. And now that is available to me right from this view. So what do I get to do? You know, now I have this saved. It's listed under my graphic themes. But not only that, I can choose to export this as a PDF. And I'm going to go in and define this. Again, maybe I'll call it vacant space with data. And let's just copy that, and we'll paste that into my document header as well. But now, notice this. Select floors. You're not limited to one floor. You may do this for multiple buildings and floors. And I can define what those are. My orientation here, my margin size, and then we'll export that, and now it's going to process not only the floor plans, but also the data as well. And while that's processing, I already have an example of one in here for you that I did earlier. This is one building, building 3, second floor. Notice as I scroll down, here's the data view that I associated with it. And it's going to continue to present all the data that you've defined for the data view you attached. And now I'm going into another floor. And now the data for that floor is made available for me. So a great, great new feature that is a huge enhancement to saving time, saving clicks, and efforts within the floor plans, the floor plan viewer that you have available to you. Again, I want to point out we're coming up to the end of our time. We do have a questions area inside the webinar panel, but that wraps up the demonstration today that I had for all of you. And again, I want to thank you for giving us the time to be able to share this and show this to you. Lisa, do we have questions? Maybe we can answer some of those real quick.
Yeah, actually, Leisha, I'll go ahead and I'll read down through these because I actually answered a few of them already that were, probably didn't apply to the whole audience. So I'll go ahead and go down through these, Bill, if you wouldn't mind, and just have you answer a few that I wasn't quite sure.
Certainly.
So one of them is from one of the people on the webcast says, can the user with limited rights who have access to the graphics have access to these graphic themes and features, or is it only for administrators, power users who can do this?
Yeah, so great question. That is a permissionable function. So you would define who would have access to go in and do that. Again, that's something you would set up for the different users that you have.
Right. So, Bill, that's I think the point being there that you do not have to be a power user to be able to have access to the.
That is correct.
Right. Let's see. Does the multi-room function need to be permissioned by role in order to use it? I went ahead and just got an answer from our product management team, and they said, yeah, everything in the right-click edit window is permissionable by role, and the actual fields that can be edited in the multi-edit pop-up box that Bill was showing, dialog, are also permissionable. Very fine level of control over being able to actually enable people to actually perform those functions. All right, Bill, let's look here. Somebody wants to know how much training does it take to learn the software. Bill, you want to give a quick overview of that?
How much training does it take to learn the entire software? Is that the question?
I would say probably. Yeah, I would say probably related to what you just showed today.
Right. So we have distance learning training that is available to you. So if you have an interest to get training in these features or any other within FM Interact, go ahead and contact your regional manager, and they will talk to you about the different options that are available with the distance learning. Also, we have our user conference coming up, and that is at the end of April, first week of May is when that is going on, and we provide training there as well. If you would like individual, help with some of the features I've shown you, we would be happy to do a private go-to-meeting session with you, and then we can talk more in depth about some of the features you've seen. So a number of different options there, Brian.
Okay, Bill, here's another good one. Do the floor plans actually change when you're making these updates?
Yes, yeah, and hopefully you were able to see that as I was going through. And for example, when I was doing some of the assign room drag and drop, and I saved that, and we saw the actual color code change on the fly. So these floor plans are dynamic in relation to the data. So if you change any element of data, you're going to see that immediately reflected right in the floor plan in the viewer.
That's great. Let's see here. Somebody asked, they asked if this was, what release or version of the product they'd have to be on. This was actually released last year as part of our 8.4 release. In about May of last year, we continually, because we're in an agile development environment, as features are available, we just go ahead and release them. So many of the features that Bill was showing today, including the new ability to be able to write an ad hoc query and save it as a personal theme, that just came out a few weeks ago. So one of the things you need to know is that once you update to 8.4 or greater, to enable the FMX5 viewer, you'll have to go in to your options area in your once you're logged in, and make sure that you have the FMX5 viewer selected as your preferred viewer. We do have older legacy viewers such as the Silverlight viewer and the Autodesk Design Review viewer plugin, but this, what we're showing you today, is brand new. It does not require any plugins or any special controls. You just make sure you have that selected as your preferred viewer in your own admin settings. Let's see. Can't see anything here. There's a few. If we don't answer your questions on this call today, because we're going to have to wrap up here in a few minutes, we'll make sure that you get an answer. We'll probably send it to you privately. Let's see. Oh, here's one. Are there issues with two people assigned to a same space?
Not at all.
Yep.
You can assign as many people as you'd like to a space. Not only that, you can also assign one person to multiple spaces.
Somebody wants to know if floor plans need to be uploaded in CAD format. We actually support native AutoCAD drawings and Revit drawings, and one of the really truly powerful things about our solution is that there's a bi-directional integration through what's called a web service between AutoCAD or Revit models and drawings, so that as you update these items in the web browser, you're actually updating the original AutoCAD and Revit files. And that's very, very powerful. So yeah, you actually do have to have them in a CAD type format like AutoCAD or Revit. Another question, do you have a facility management and lease administration module? And absolutely, we have both of those as part of the FM Interact platform. So many of the capabilities that Bill was actually showing today with the FMX5 viewer actually show up in those modules. Let's see, what else here? Let's see, is FM Mobile part of 8.4? Do you have to purchase it separately? FM Mobile is actually currently a separate module that is an add-on module to FM Interact, so yes, you need to license that separately. Can you assign more than one person to multiple spaces? Bill, do you know the answer to that one?
It's more.
Can you assign?
Maybe I'm not. Yeah.
Can you take somebody? Let's say Bill Meier. Can you assign Bill Meier to multiple spaces?
Absolutely. Yeah. So one space can have multiple personnel assigned. Individuals can be assigned to multiple spaces.
Right, and so when reporting on that, you would be able to report on. You could look at it in a number of different ways. You could actually report on people who have multiple spaces assigned to them, etc. Sometimes you mean to do that. Sometimes it's an accident. But one of the really nice things about FM Interact is it will actually tell you that someone has already been assigned somewhere. Do you really want to do that? So that's all built in here as well. So we do have a lot more questions. I'm going to go ahead and end the webcast because we're way beyond our half hour. I wanted to thank everyone for joining us today. If we didn't actually get to your questions because they are continuing to roll in, we're going to actually, Bill and I will step down through these and we'll make sure that you get an answer. The other thing is that this is recorded, so if you have someone else within your organization that you would love to see these really fantastic new capabilities, please feel free to provide them with access to the webcast. Anybody who didn't have an opportunity to attend is also going to get an email letting them know that this has been recorded. So, Leisha, I think we'll go ahead and wrap things up.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Bill. And thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your day to attend today's webinar. We will be getting the recording together and the PowerPoint slides together and sending out a follow-up email afterwards with the link to the recording. So feel free to watch it again or send it along to your colleagues. Thank you, everyone, and have a great afternoon.